We now know it's a season ender for Rashee Rice. I mean, you want to talk about a cockroach. Juju Smith-Schuster refuses to go away. And he's been picked up in about a third of leagues. And, you know, you can say what you want. I've said my piece about Juju, okay? And teams around the league have said their piece about Juju. But if Patrick Mahomes trusts him and there's nobody else for Patrick Mahomes to freaking throw the football to, Juju's going to get the football. And you might not like that. You just might have to accept it.
I'm in the acceptance stage as well. This was a guy I did not, I had the opportunity to go pick him up before that Monday night game against the Saints and in some leagues, and like a lot of other people, I didn't really believe it, and he went out and showed us that, you know, he still has a little bit of juice left. 7 catches for 130 yards. He's still out there in 70% of Yahoo leagues right now. They were on bye last week, so maybe people didn't want to burn roster spot on him, but we're going into a game this week against San Francisco, and hey, just the way that Patrick Mahomes wants to play football anymore. I mean, everything is close to the line of scrimmage, low ADOT, and that fits what Juju Smith-Schuster does anymore. You know, he's not a guy that's winning down the field on, you know, intermediate routes. So it lines up with what his skill set is.
What? Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.
Welcome to the Waiver Wire Show at the Fantasy Points Podcast, Fantasy Points YouTube, or wherever you consume your Fantasy Points content. I'm Joe. He's Tom. Remember to use code YouTube25 at fantasypoints.com to get access to the Waiver Wire article. Tom Bradley covers over 80 players every week. We've got team defenses. We've got kickers, quarterbacks for all league sizes, running backs and receivers and tight ends for all league sizes. You will not regret it. Tom, this has obviously been a year where a lot of folks have gotten injured, and we've had some long-term pickups at positions, but we're now getting to the point of the season where, you know, maybe you have a guy who's got a ding or a dent, you know, he rolled his ankle or he's got a hamstring or a shoulder or what have you, or bye weeks, and you need a 1-week fill-in. You know, I was just in a league where it was actually our longest term league, our Daily Collegian Penn State Newspaper League. I picked up and started Kamani Vidal this week. Like, I had to, because my running backs were on bye. Those are the kind of guys who you might need to pick up this week. And there's a couple to me who are standing out on good offenses, by the way. We don't know the status of Aaron Jones. It's a hip injury. I think it was supposed to be a 1, 2, maybe 3-week injury. They were on bye last week. There's a chance he plays, but if he doesn't go, Ty Chandler is probably the lead back for the Minnesota Vikings, and you might get a game or two out of Ty Chandler in a pretty damn good offense.
Yeah, it's a great situation for him. We'll see if Aaron Jones is able to play. They were doing some light workouts on Monday, and he was participating, but that's a little bit different than a full-blown practice. So we'll see if he's able to get on the field later this week, but Chandler's the next guy up, and there's not a whole lot of competition for touches and targets behind him. So it's setting up pretty well for him. The only downside is he gets this Lions matchup, which is one of the toughest in the NFL. So
pass funnel.
Yeah, they're more of a pass funnel, which he's capable of helping out in the passing game. But so I would keep expectations somewhat in check for him, but he could easily be a guy that you can pick up off the waiver wire. Jones doesn't play. He's your RB2 for the week, and maybe he falls into the end zone because this is one of the best offenses in the league, and this is probably got a chance to be a higher scoring game, even though we got some pretty good defenses on both sides. So Chandler is certainly viable for at least this week, and if he gets another start in week 8, he gets that Rams matchup. So that's a much better matchup if he would happen to get multiple starts for Aaron Jones.
Let's go to a team coming off not a bye, but a mini bye. The 49ers played on Thursday night. Jordan Mason goes down in that game with a shoulder injury. I think the diagnosis is the old generic AC sprain. And as our guy Edwin Porras says, it's unless there's like an actual like physical like displacement, it's really a pain tolerance injury. Now, I don't know what the 49ers are going to do with Mason because he has that extra time to recover. We're not anticipating Christian McCaffrey being back until at the very earliest after their week 8 bye. It's possible, though, that the 49ers this week decide to sit Mason, you know, in the event Christian McCaffrey can't get back healthy this year, be a little cautious and go with Isaac Guerendo, the rookie out of Louisville. He's rostered in just 4% of Yahoo leagues. He was the lead back and functioned as the lead back after Jordan Mason went down on Thursday night for the 49ers.
Yeah, he had the long run there, the 76-yard run, which put the game on ice and sealed the victory for the 49ers. I will say it wasn't, we've seen Mason really take over all the work here for McCaffrey. Patrick Taylor was also mixing in. So this isn't a perfect situation. Taylor was getting some carries inside the 10-yard line. He got a try on the 2-point conversion. So it's not the best situation here, but we'll also got to see about Mason. He was getting a little bit of light work in on Monday. Once again, it's one of these situations where it wasn't an official practice, but so he was out there getting some work in. But if, at the very least, if I'm a Mason owner and I've been riding him for the last 6 weeks here, I would want to pick up Guerendo, have a little bit of a handcuff just in case he is unable to play. As you said, it looks like maybe McCaffrey comes back after the bye. So this is more of a short-term play just in case Mason can't play. But once again, this is another situation where it's a tough matchup in week 7 here. We're going against the Chiefs defense that's been stifling everybody. So it's not the most ideal situation, but if you've been riding Jordan Mason here to start the season, you probably should be picking up Guerendo off your waiver wire this week.
I want to reiterate to everybody that we do not cover everybody on this short little podcast, live stream, video, whatever you want to call it. All of the guys, basically anybody who's worth a damn, who's rostered in 50% or fewer of Yahoo leagues gets a write-up in our waiver wire article. Tom Browley does a wonderful job. Use code YouTube25. Any NFL package at Fantasy Points, NFL content package, meaning NFL Standard or NFL Premium, will get you access to the waiver wire article. Tom, 2 running backs I do want to cover. One is available in virtually every Yahoo league. It could be a messy situation, though. I'm beginning to wonder what Rachaad White's role in the Buccaneers offense is going forward, because it's been evident, even dating back to last year, an early down grinder is not what Rachaad White should be. He's more of a change of pace, third down receiving type of back. They didn't have anybody to handle the early down last year. He's been usurped there by Bucky Irving. But then Sean Tucker comes in, and not only does he perform as a runner, Tom, he also creates explosive plays in the passing game. And now Bucs coach Todd Bowles says, look, he's earned chances. We're going to have a 3-headed monster. And I think very few instances happen in the NFL where a 3-headed running back monster actually works, because none of them can get into a rhythm. And my concern here, if I have Rachaad White, is that he just ends up by the wayside and the Buccaneers go with the 2 players who have been more effective. Is there a chance for Sean Tucker to actually become the number 2 running back and push Rachaad White down to the number 3?
I'm a little skeptical. I do think he's worth an ad in some of these deeper formats if you're playing in a 14-team league and there's very little on the waiver wire, but it's a tough situation. And this is still an offense that wants to be more pass heavy. They've been one of the highest pass rate over expectation teams to start the season for good reason. You have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who are stars at the position at wide receiver. So makes sense to want to throw it a little bit more. So I do think Tucker is worth the ad, though, just in case we do see White pushed out, though. But yeah, White is could end up being like the odd man out here, because we've seen Bucky Irving, even going back to that Thursday night game in week 5. He lost a fumble late in the game, but they turned right back to him as the closer in that contest. So they've started to lean on Bucky Irving more, and now Sean Tucker gets his first real chance without Rachaad White, and he impresses as well. So I do think we're heading towards probably a very ugly situation. I'll be probably waiting and seeing on this backfield if I own any of these guys in this matchup in week 7, just to see how they kind of handle it. But yeah, Sean Tucker earned more reps, and Todd Bowles said as much on Monday.
So one more running back I want to cover. He's rostered in virtually half of Yahoo leagues, so he's probably not available in a competitive league. But I do want to point out a really interesting observation. This is from Art Stapleton, who covers the Giants for the Bergen County record. And here is what his observation was. After watching Tyrone Tracy the past 2 weeks, I think you'll see Devin Singletary have the Eric Gray role from last night, meaning Sunday Night Football, maybe with a little bit of a jump in snaps to 70% to 30% rather than 84-18, with Tracy continuing as the lead back. Stapleton then responded to his own tweet, Tom, and said, quote, "Really believe Singletary has been wally-pipped." Tyrone Tracy had an awesome game. He didn't have a lot of room to run, but Daniel Jones was checking it down to him with alacrity. It really feels like there's a chance Tyrone Tracy is a usable fantasy asset, even if and when Devin Singletary gets back healthy.
Yeah, and he was still not widely available, but only owned by 45% of people in Yahoo leagues going into that matchup last night, even after he played well in week 5. So he might be out there, or you might be in this situation where you picked him up and used him the last week or two, and you're seeing Singletary practice this week. I would not be dropping Tyrone Tracy. This could be his backfield by the back half of the season. He's looked really good. I know our guy Graham Barfield put out a tweet today that comparing Tyrone Tracy to Kenneth Walker and Devin Singletary to Zach Charbonnet. So you don't put the more talented guy back behind the veteran, especially on a team like the Giants here that they're building for the future still, even though they've gotten off to a decent start. They should want to take a closer look at the rookie. So I do think that Tracy has the chance to maybe take over the Singletary role from the start of the season here. So he's a guy that should be continued to own, even if we see Singletary coming back this week.
Let's move over to wide receiver, Tom. I'm not sure we talked about him on last week's show, given we didn't really know the extent of Rashee Rice's injury. We now know it's a season ender for Rashee Rice. I mean, you want to talk about a cockroach. Juju Smith-Schuster refuses to go away. And he's been picked up in about a third of leagues. And, you can say what you want. I've said my piece about Juju, okay? And teams around the league have said their piece about Juju. But if Patrick Mahomes trusts him and there's nobody else for Patrick Mahomes to freaking throw the football to, Juju's going to get the football. And you might not like that. You just might have to accept it. And if you're desperate on the waiver wire, Juju can provide maybe 4 or 5 catches a week for you.
Yeah, I'm in the acceptance stage as well. This was a guy I did not. I had the opportunity to go pick him up before that Monday night game against the Saints and in some leagues, and like a lot of other people, I didn't really believe it. And he went out and showed us that he still has a little bit of juice left. 7 catches for 130 yards. He's still out there in 70% of Yahoo leagues right now. They were on bye last week, so maybe people didn't want to burn roster spot on him, but. We're going into a game this week against San Francisco. And, hey, just the way that Patrick Mahomes wants to play football anymore. I mean, everything is close to the line of scrimmage, low ADOT, and that fits what Juju Smith-Schuster does anymore. He's not a guy that's winning down the field on, intermediate routes. So it lines up with what his skill set is. We don't know how long this is going to last. They could make a move or two before the trade deadline in early November, but for right now, I think he's a usable asset, and he's widely available in Yahoo leagues right now.
Let's go to those Packers receivers. Like the Packers, they're frustrating because they can produce. It's just dependent on who's available. Jaden Reed picks up an ankle injury in week 6. Now he returns to the game. Now we'll see if that swells up. Remember, the same thing happened to Khalil Shakir a couple weeks ago. He ended up missing the week 5 game with the ankle injury. Dontavion Wicks suffers a shoulder injury. He's described as week to week. Meanwhile, Christian Watson comes in and scores a long touchdown. And Romeo Doubs, here's a lesson learned for everybody here. If you don't like what's going on in your life, piss, whine, and moan because you will get your way, because Romeo Doubs got his way in week 6. Ezekiel Elliott got his way in week 6. It's just that one of those guys is an actual functional football player right now, that being Romeo Doubs. Jordan Love was balling out against the Cardinals in that cover 3 defense. These guys, Tom, you're playing musical chairs here, but there's a chance you sit on a chair and it's a chair that has $1 million under it with these Packers wide receivers.
Yeah, these guys have been touchdown scorers here. Jordan Love, I think it's 14 of his last 15 games he's thrown for multiple touchdown passes. Now, we were in this similar boat here a couple of weeks ago with talking about Dontavian Wicks, how it was kind of setting up for him. Now,
And
it's
he
kind
gets
of
hurt.
it's kind of flipped. Wicks is the guy that could miss multiple weeks here, and Christian Watson comes back much quicker than anticipated from his ankle injury. So Watson and Dobbs are now the ones situated here to be the big winners, and a lot of people dropped both of those guys whenever it looked like Wicks might be the guy emerging. Dobbs gets the suspension. Watson picks up the ankle injury. So these guys were widely dropped in a lot of leagues. So they can be picked up and played. And listen to the schedule. It's pretty good this week against Houston, and then they get Jacksonville and Detroit before their Week 10 bye. And if Wicks is going to be out of the picture, and maybe Jaden Reed, Watson and Dobbs are going to be must starts as at least wide receiver threes the next couple of weeks.
I got one super low end wide receiver I want to talk about and one super low end tight end to talk about, Tom, before we leave the people. Number one, if you need a 1 week wide receiver fill in and you are dying, and I mean dying for somebody, I don't think Chris Olave is playing Thursday night with a concussion. As we're recording this Monday evening. Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football and Rap Sheet have both described Rashid Shaheed's knee injury as, quote, concerning. So he might miss some time. Certainly doesn't sound like he's going to play on Thursday night. If you are dying for somebody who might need targets, Bub Means, the rookie, might get some for the New Orleans Saints. If you're just, hey, look, I got CeeDee Lamb's on bye. Guys, I am dying. Would you start Bub Means? I can see a scenario in which you do.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the second team narrative here as well.
Rattler.
Spencer Rattler comes into the game last week and he gets 6 targets and catches them for five times for 45 yards and a touchdown. So he could be elevated to a bigger role here just out of pure necessity as well. So look at him and maybe even Jawan Johnson at the tight end position. I'll be adding both of those guys to the waiver wire. It'll be up by the time this video is out. So both of those guys should have much bigger roles here. Both Rashid Shaheed, and we're fully expecting Chris Olave to miss since he has a concussion, and they have a quick turnaround to play on Thursday night.
The tight end I'm talking about, Tom, at a position that's been pretty brutal for fantasy. The one thing about Dallas Goedert is he cannot stay on the field. He plays 3 snaps for the Eagles, leaves with a hamstring injury, and in comes Grant Calcaterra, catches 4 passes for 67 yards, Tom. And let me tell you something. If you saw that one little screen pass they threw to him, he has got some juice to him. Obviously, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are going to dominate the targets. Saquon Barkley for the Eagles. But if you're dying for a tight end, Grant Calcaterra, virtually available in every single league. And you could take a shot on him against the Giants this coming week and potentially maybe a week or two even further than that.
Yeah, he looked like he had some juice in his limited opportunities, made a couple of big plays, and it was the position was all his. 92% snap share after Dallas Goedert left. So they put it all on his plate, and he took advantage of it. So certainly a low-end option at the tight end position. But if you've been streaming the tight end position, it's been kind of difficult at times. So maybe Calcaterra in a matchup here with the Giants where maybe some points are scored in that game. So I like Calcaterra off the he's literally owned in 0% of Yahoo leagues right now. So I can guarantee that he's available in your league.
All right, Tom Brawley. Look, we didn't talk quarterbacks, I think people understand. You play the matchups, but don't worry, we got quarterbacks covered for you up at the website. We've got all kinds of wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends we didn't talk about today. Just wanted to talk about some of the most interesting storylines as we do every week. Tom, thanks for joining me. Everybody, thanks for watching. Remember, code YouTube25. Get you an NFL Standard or NFL Premium package up at FantasyPoints.com and get the entirety of the waiver wire article. It has been a pleasure, T-Bro. We'll talk to you on the Best Bet show later this week.